Okay, welcome back. Let's finish off this scene here. I just, in the first part of this video, I stamped out the composition, the base of it, and started to, and for the most part, finished the grassy area down here. I actually used quite a few different greens here. You don't have to use that many, but I always figure if I have them, I might as well use them. I don't know, maybe I shouldn't, maybe the videos would go a little bit faster, but I don't know, like I said, I think, you know, this potentially the scene can come out even, you know, come out with a feeling of more depth, potentially, you know, the more colors you use, because they are transparent again. In this green down here, I added some of this basic brown here from Marvy. This is a pale orange that I'm using now over the cabin, and I also like that down here as well, so I'm going to apply some of that pale orange. It's like a warm beige down into this area, and it's kind of making the little areas that were just kind of, you know, the white of the card almost, kind of glow a little bit more with that kind of warmth. And it kind of relates to the brown, which is already down there. Okay, it's kind of adding, fleshing in the scene a little bit. But anyways, like I mentioned in the part 1 of this video, this is a a snowy type of image, but you know, I mean, at this point in time, I mean, you know, does it look like a? I don't feel as though it looks like a, you know, with this color combination, I don't feel as though it looks like a snow scene that I've kind of had to, you know, force into a different context. I think it looks perfectly natural as just a little brook, you know, maybe, you know, where the snow is. Maybe it's covered in moss or something like that. This is a brown, Marvy number 6 brown that I'm using right here. And going on to the cabin, I'll bring some of that color down here into the green as well. Okay. Going with a very dry brush approach on the rooftop. I'm kind of doing the side of this cabin, the vertical side of it, a little bit darker, as if the lighting is coming from above. Again, angling the tool in the direction, or at the angle most conducive to getting into a certain spot. Some of the spots are really tight, so, you know, this sponge tip won't be the perfect tool for that. But I do have some pens that I'll probably use. Okay. I like that. I like, you know, like the variation there in terms of values on that cabin. What I don't like is to just do it all one value, and that tends to flatten it out too much. Let's get into the sky. Actually, before I do that, why don't I go in with this dark brown. This is a Marvy number 18 dark brown. It's one of the 3 browns in the Marvy matchable line, and kind of a staple in my color schemes that require that hue. Let's see, let's go in and add a few little deeper shadows to these areas. I'm just kind of going in and reiterating what's already on the images again. Deepening some shadow areas like that, where there's darkness. Okay, maybe I'll even let's do this so you can see where those little not hills, but I don't know, where the grass changes height or whatnot. Let's just go and reiterate that again a little bit more. And I'm just doing some paper towel masking like that. Okay, let's get back to that sky here. Light blue, which in this case is a salvia blue, or it's the lightest of blue. I shouldn't say light blue because there's actually a color that I'm going to use that's called light blue, so I don't want to confuse you, but it's the lightest blue in the matchable, Marvy matchable range. Okay, I was just downloading the secure digital card off that last video, and I feel this paper is really set up in terms of, you know, the inks have dried on there, so it's really grabbing the ink. So I'm gonna, I mean, I could go back in and add some more of that Adirondack Lights Aqua, but I don't want to do that. So I'm just being a little bit more careful. I'm using a lighter touch to apply the ink because I don't want to have these big streaks in there. This is okay. No, this is the Marvy matchable light blue. It's a number. It's called number 10. Well, it's not called number 10. It is number 10 in terms of their number convention. Okay. Alright, let's bring some of those colors down here in the water too. I don't want to color the entire body of water because I want to leave some areas of that's lighter, reflecting that light from the sky. Okay, something like that. And why don't we go with the darker blue? This one's just called Blue, and it's number 3 from Marvy. Okay. Kind of framing off the edges, making the edges darker, or the corners especially. Okay, why not bring some of that down into the grassy area at the base of the trees to make those shadows a little bit deeper, and bring a little continuity between sky and land, using a common color. It doesn't read as just straight blue because the greens underneath and browns and all that are showing through. Again, due to the transparency of the inks. Okay, so that's what we have right now. And let's go for a little bit of variation in the sky. I think purples and greens really go well together. Let's see here. I need to just dab off. I don't know where my water bottle is, so let's just take some of that off like that. Let's go for a good dollop of this deep lilac. A little bit of purple tinge to it. That looks pretty good. I'm just going with a very light touch and building it up slowly. You can see, I mean, it's just, I can barely see it, and I've already taken, what, 15 strokes or something like that. That's how you want to kind of apply it. You want to just apply it in a nice, gradual, incremental fashion. That way you have a lot of control over it that way. You know, there's less chance of getting kind of a you know, an unintentional, you know, obtrusive mark that way. Here, you can get some of this down here in the water as well. You know, to reflect some of those colors of the sky. Okay. Let's see. There's black again. This is my Sedge filler stamp, adding in some extra texture to that grassy area out here. Same thing over here. Alright, looks good. You always hear me talking about kind of textural contrasts. It's something kind of soft in the grassy area down here. Now I'm going to add something a little bit harder. And let's mask some of this off. Here they kind of have these little spiny branches. Okay. Kind of a nice little variation within that area. Sometimes I add so much ink in those areas it kind of gets a little bit muddy, so I add in something nice and crisp. This is the Reed's Large again. You've seen me use this a million times. See, I'm kind of changing the angle a little bit, changing the height. Okay. And let's get in there, and before I do that, let me try some of these alcohol-based markers to get in some of these areas that were kind of not conducive for getting into with, you know, the stylus tool. Get on some of these little rocks out here into some of the shadows. These are alcohol-based pens, so they're not smearing. The water-based, dye-based markers, inks. That's kind of a light green. Here's I don't know, kind of a light gray or a light beigeish gray. I kind of use those as a little bit of a blending ink to get in there. Soften my streaks up a little bit. I don't know, can you hear that little squeakiness there? Okay. And going back in and adding in this pearly, everlasting little highlights, or it can be like little white flowers in the meadow. And that's kind of a nice little touch. For spring, I used to have these, this set of gel pens, and it was a set of pastels that were really great. I don't know, I don't think they sell those anymore, but those worked for me for a very long time, and I wish they had those again, because some little pink and purple flowers would look really great in this little area. And you might say pink and purple, I mean, that might really stand out, but it really didn't, because you're just doing them in small dots, and it looked like a field of, you know, just some, you know, subtle lupin or something like that. Let me see if I can zoom in here so you can kind of see what's going on. I'll try to keep it within the field of view. Actually, I'll try not to move it like that. I apologize, sometimes in these videos I I shoot the video, then upon replay I'm looking at it and I've kind of my hands in the way of whatever I'm trying to demonstrate, or I'm doing it completely off the screen. This one is the Uniball Signo gel pen. And it's kind of bringing the field down here to life, in my opinion. It's kind of, after I add this in, I